Joining me now are three of the best political analysts in the country, all CNN contributors, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist with the New York Daily News. There he is, Michael Goodwin, syndicated columnist Miguel Perez. Miguel is also a journalism professor at Lehman College and Democratic strategist and Democratic National Committee man Robert Zimmerman. You certainly have a long title there. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate it. Well, first, obviously, this is the thing everyone's talking about, the new internal report. We have been waiting for this report to come out. Now it finally has. Any big surprises in there, Robert?
Well, I think the only surprise, not even a surprise, the only point that's worth noting is I think Rahm Emanuel's due an apology. Because the real surprise in this report is there are no surprises. This has been an Illinois scandal from the beginning, and despite every effort by pundits and analysts to try to make this a national scandal, we're seeing by the U.S. Attorney's comments, by Governor Blagojevich's very obscene comments with attacking Barack Obama, and by this report that, in fact, there was no misconduct, no impropriety at all by President-elect Obama or any of his lieutenants.
Yeah, Michael, in your mind, does this settle it? I mean, can we move on to other things at this point?
Well, obviously, I think this is still a sidelight, and I think it will continue, however, because we have the Blagojevich case itself, along with his chief of staff, John Harris. They likely will be indicted by a grand jury, according to everyone from Chicago. So that's still going on. But to the question of surprises today, for me, there was one, and that was that Obama himself, Rahm Emanuel, and Valerie Jarrett all were questioned by the U.S. Attorney's Office as part just the other day, just last week, actually, and earlier this week, some of them. So I was surprised by that. What we don't know from the report, and I tried to find out and couldn't, whether that was under oath.
Oh, that's a good point.
And we also don't know whether any of Rahm Emanuel's phone calls, apparently there were at least 6, or about 6, they say, were captured by the U.S. Attorney's Office in the wiretaps. So there are still some questions out there, I think, that aren't clear. And then, of course, this report is an internal report, means it's one-sided.
But everything that we've heard so far, I mean, isn't it that what we've heard essentially is that all they were offering was appreciation, and that seems to, you know, give Obama's camp some clearance.
But also disgusted the governor.
Well, no, I mean, we have no evidence to the contrary yet, but the Blagojevich's defense is that he did nothing wrong. And so how his defense will work in conjunction with this, and what else does the U.S. Attorney have on wiretaps? There's still a lot we don't know. But you're right. I mean, so far there's nothing terrible about the Obama people, but there's still some unanswered questions.
Miguel, are we just all chasing this because it's a slow news cycle, it's a holiday season, and that's what we do in the media because it's a fresh news cycle?
I hope so, because I don't really think it's that big a deal. I mean, this report today, I think, sort of confirms the fact that we shouldn't be worried about Obama's involvement too much. I mean, Michael made some great points, and there's still things that need to be seen. But Obama and the country has much bigger problems to worry about. And we've sort of been paralyzed by this whole thing coming out of Chicago for a while now, out of Illinois. And I think we really need to move on, and we really need to give Obama some space. He had been doing great until this fiasco, and I really think that it's unfair at this point for the new administration to be dealing with this problem.
Can I make one point I think really in Obama's favor here is that apparently he didn't push anybody on Blagojevich or that whole staff. He was not backing, and he submitted a list of 4 or 5 people and said he would be fine with any of them plus others. So I think that's actually rather admirable for him to do that, because he clearly could have leaned and said, look, I want Jarrett or I want this one. But so far there's no evidence that he did any, which I think is admirable.
Yeah, they're saying that Rahm Emanuel really was the one who was pushing Valerie Jarrett.
Well, I don't know if I think it's unfair to say he was necessarily pushing. I think clearly it was a point of discussion. I think it's thoroughly an appropriate discussion for Rahm Emanuel to have with the governor or his representatives, and clearly nothing improper about it. But I think the point here, to go to Miguel's point, is the media is focused on this. But I think the nation, and I think to the credit of the Obama new transition team and their new administration, they're focused on the larger issues and solution-based issues, which the country is calling for.
And on that note, we actually have some sound from Vice President-elect Joe Biden from Larry King Live, in which he's talking about the issue of the economy and whether or not what the expectations are as we head into the new year.
Domestically, I wasn't so worried about that, but internationally I am. I've been contacted by so many world leaders. Their expectation for Barack's presidency is overwhelming. They are so hungry to have an American leader who they think has a policy that reflects our stated values, as well as one they can talk to.
Miguel, what do you think? Do you think expectations that are very high? I mean, we obviously have a financial crisis. We have everything that's going on right now.
Americans have great expectations for President-elect Obama, but even the rest of the world, I think even more. In Latin America, I've been following Latin America. I just wrote a column about related to Latin America, and the expectations are huge. Now, you have the new Secretary of State talking about special envoys that may be dedicated to certain parts of the world. I think that's a great thing, because I think Latin America, for example, should have a special envoy. What has happened under the Bush administration is that he has concentrated so much on Iraq and Iran and the Middle East that he's ignored the rest of the world.
Yeah, Michael,
and we really need to pay attention to that.
Michael, do you think we need to go back to using special envoys, perhaps former President Clinton?
Well, look, frankly, I mean, that's a process that I don't fully understand the significance one way or another. I mean, I think administrations want to do things differently. I think for Obama, the issue is going to be the economy, and not just domestically, but globally. And the United States, if the United States can lead its way out of the economic woes that we're in now, anytime in a reasonably short period, and the world follows, that will be a great achievement for Obama, and that will really set the tone for a very successful presidency.
You know, I think one of the great achievements and pride that Lou Dobbs could take, and the team at Lou Dobbs tonight, is to now see the middle-class agenda take a formal role at the White House, because certainly this program has been a champion of the middle-class agenda, and I think that's very encouraging to see it get the national and White House recognition it deserves. But I'm very encouraged by seeing the enthusiasm and the expectations in the world community. And I think it's very important, because clearly it shows the rest of the world wants to work with the United States of America, and they have a leader they can trust. Obviously, there are going to be difficulties along the way, but that spirit of high expectations can lead to great cooperation.
Yeah, but you know, they are certainly walking in. They've got a lot on their plate, a really tall list on their agenda that they're going to have to work through, and very quickly, because people are, by its definition, they are going to be expecting a lot, and very soon. We've got to take a break here, but we'll have much more with our panel when we return.
I thought you were going to fix that.
It's on my to-do list. What'll I do today? Fix a cabinet door, clean garage. Nah. Get life insurance.
Life insurance?
Just enough to help cover our funeral costs, medical bills, credit cards, and maybe a little extra. That's an easy one. I'll do that.
Life insurance. Easy?
Sure is. I saw an ad for the AARP life insurance program from New York Life. Made a quick call and got this free information in the mail. With AARP Guaranteed Acceptance Life, this is all it takes to enroll. There's no medical exam, no health questions. I just check how much coverage I want, say $15,000. And then I check this box, sign here, and that's that.
$15,000 of life insurance, just like that.
If you're between the ages of 50 and 80, it's that simple. AARP members cannot be turned down for AARP Guaranteed Acceptance Life. You can apply for up to $15,000 in benefits without visiting a doctor or answering a single health question. It's easy to enroll and affordable, too. Your rates will not increase just because you grow older, and you can never be singled out for an increase. What's more, you can keep this coverage for as long as you live. Whether you're looking to supplement an existing plan or buying protection for the first time, consider AARP Guaranteed Acceptance Life. To get your free information by mail, call now. Not an AARP member yet? We'll tell you how to join.
Call 1-800-607-2255 and receive a free Easy Clip-On radio just for calling. There is no obligation. 1-800-607-2255.
That was easy.
Told you so.
Now you have plenty of time to get back to that to-do list of yours.
Call now for free information and a free gift. 1-800-607-2255. 1-800-607-2255.
CNN Tonight. Barack Obama will be revealed. See for yourself who he really is. Reveal, a special report. CNN Tonight, 7 Eastern.
Extraordinary Parents. We asked for your stories and you delivered.
On a special Christmas Eve, Nancy Grace selects the most extraordinary parents of them all.
Join us and be inspired.
A Nancy Grace special, tonight, 8 and 10 Eastern on HLN.
I'm an American. American. I live in a democracy. I go against the grain.
Thinking more about the world.
Should question authority.
Cannot give our children this debt.
I'm for the war.
Saw the state of politics today.
HIV and AIDS.
Protect American citizens.
The future of our planet is at stake.
I have my own ideas. Maybe they
Open your Bible.
especially with poverty and
Free thinking.
Freedom of choices.
Independence of thought.
That's the issue. That's the issue.
And we're back with our panel. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Robert, I want to start with you. We were talking about expectations and this idea. Where do you think that the biggest cause for concern is as the Obama camp moves forward when it comes to expectations?
Well, I think on the international front, the leadership of the world community understands the difficult challenge Barack Obama has, and I think there's an understanding that it's going to take time. On the domestic front, that's where it's very important to manage the populace's expectations, because clearly this president is inheriting the greatest economic crisis since the Great Depression, and that can't be said enough, because it's important for people to understand what the president-elect is confronting. He's in the process of turning the economy around. So I think I think Congress and both parties understand what we're facing, keeping the country focused on the time it will take and the need to stay unified to solve this is the challenge.
Yeah, we all know that Obama has this this wonderful team that he's assembled. I mean, you've really got some heavy hitters on his cabinet to try to fix some of these pressing problems. Now, Secretary of State, soon to be Hillary Clinton, assuming that she is actually approved by Congress, but she wants to expand that role as Secretary of State. Miguel, what do you think of that, to have an expanded role for the Secretary of State?
Well, I already mentioned earlier the special envoys, but, you know, when she expands, there's a concern where she expands, whether it overlaps with the duties that other cabinet members may have. I mean, if all of a sudden she starts overlapping with the Commerce Department or overlapping with the Trade Secretary, that may lead to friction. So, you know, it's great that she's already on board and she's trying to do I think she's trying to do wonderful things with the State Department and for this country's image in the rest of the world. I think that, you know, we should support what she's doing, but at the same time, let's avoid the friction.
Yeah, during the Bush years, you had this tug of war essentially between the Pentagon and you had the State Department and Colin Powell and Rumsfeld. Do you think that the State Department needs to have a greater role as we move forward?
Well, I would turn it around this way. What does the president need to do? And I think the president always, whoever the president is, needs to set the agenda. And it's got to be one or two big things. And I think when you get into these agencies kind of running their own shop and trying to create a fiefdom, that I think is a danger for the president. The president really needs to prioritize. And very quickly, I think every president, every chief executive, mayor, governor, they learn that there are really just a few things you can do. And if you don't do those well, nothing else matters. So I think for Obama, it's going to be economy. Now, economy as part of foreign policy is an important part of it, too. But I do think the economy is going to define his presidency for at least 4 years.
Michael makes a very important point, because you had, in the Bush administration, a great philosophical divide. You had a vice president who wasn't there as a confidant of the president as much as he was there leading his own philosophical movement with Donald Rumsfeld and the neocons. And you had Colin Powell really being isolated as Secretary of State. So I think what you have here is a greater philosophical unity amongst the foreign policy security team. But it's interesting to note that both Secretary of Defense Gates and the National Security Advisor designee, General Jones, both support what Senator Clinton wants to do as Secretary of State, because I think we all recognize the need to elevate the diplomatic mission of the United States. And special envoys, I think, is proven to be an effective tactic. George Mitchell did it very well in Northern Ireland. Richard Holbrooke could do it very effectively, too.
All right, gentlemen, we're out of time there, so we're going to have to stop there. But thank you very much for your insights. It is always a pleasure having all of you here. We appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you later. For all of us here, thanks for watching. Goodbye from New York.